Hello friends, my name is Vishnu Davinna and I come from civil service background. Prior to my civil service stint, I had also worked as an assistant professor at a university, and I have long been associated with IAS coaching and guidance programs now for more than 2 decades. And currently I'm associated with an academy, the most happening place in the country today in the world of online education. And today in this video, I have brought a very special topic for you, that is preamble of our constitution. As you know, that preamble is a very important part of the constitution, as it tells us about what the basic philosophy of our constitution is. So let us start with the background to our preamble. Basically, the American Constitution was the first in the world to begin with a preamble. Many countries, including India, have followed this practice. In fact, today, majority of the constitutions of the world have a preamble in one form or the other. And the very term preamble basically refers to the introduction or preface to the constitution. So it is a kind of introduction to the constitution. It contains the summary or essence of the constitution. As I said, that preamble basically contains the basic ideology of any constitution. And in our constitution as well, it contains the summary or the very essence of the constitution. The preamble is rather based on the objectives resolution drafted and moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and adopted by our Constituent Assembly on 22nd of January 1947. Now, this is the date on which the objectives resolution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly. Our preamble is basically based on objectives resolution. It has been amended by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. Our preamble has only been amended once, and that was in the 42nd, that was in the year 1976 through 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which added 3 new words, that is socialist, secular, and integrity in the preamble. Now, if you look at the text of the preamble, it is interesting to go through the text of the preamble, that how it epitomizes the basic philosophy of Indian Constitution. The preamble reads like, "We the people of India." Now, the very first sentence of the preamble starts with "We the people of India." That means it is basically the ultimate source of power being the people. People themselves are taking the initiative to adopt and enact this constitution. So it starts with the words like, "We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation." In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. So, as we can make out, in this language of the preamble, we have used several terms, which of course I'll be elucidating on them, but clearly we can see that it epitomizes the very basic philosophy of our constitution in a few words, and declares our state to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic state and a republic. And it intends to secure for all the citizens of India not only justice, liberty, and equality, but also seeks to promote fraternity amongst all the citizens of India. And it also at the same time gives us that on what date the preamble was actually adopted and enacted by the Constituent Assembly, that is 26th of November 1949. However, it came into force on 26th of January 1950. Constitution came into force on 26th of January 1950. Now, what are the ingredients of the preamble that we need to understand? So the preamble reveals 4 ingredients. 4 basic ingredients are there. Number 1, the source of authority. The source of authority, students, as we can make out, and as I told you, we the people. We the people means the people of India themselves are taking the initiative to adopt and enact this constitution for themselves. So ultimate source of authority in our democratic setup is the people. Source of authority of the constitution is the preamble states that it derives all its authority from the people of India. Second important ingredient which we can make out of the preamble is the nature of Indian states. Indian state, it declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. So it's a republican polity. It's a republican polity. It declares India to be of a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republican polity. Means our nature of our polity is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republican. Republican basically means that our head of the state is elected, although in our case the president of India, who is head of the state, is indirectly elected. Now, what is the quintessential meaning of sovereignty, socialism, secularism and democratic values in our case? That I'm going to shortly elucidate for you. Now, the third important ingredient, as I was discussing with you, is the objectives of the Constitution. It specifies that obtaining justice, ensuring liberty, equality, and promoting fraternity. These are the basic objectives of the Constitution. These are basic objectives are laid down there, that justice, social, economic, and political justice means comprehensively all kinds of justices. That is, justice is not only social, economic, but also political justice. Liberty. Liberty means the absence of any constraint on activities of individual. That is liberty. So it ensures and guarantees liberty. Equality. We know there are several articles in the Constitution which ensure equality to citizens, and fraternity basically to promote a sense of common brotherhood. That is universal brotherhood. That is the meaning of fraternity. That all Indians are together and one, and they belong to one nation. That sense basically is fraternity. Now, the date of adoption of the Constitution is the fourth ingredient of our preamble. It stipulates that 26th November 1949 as the date. Now, what are the key words in the preamble? If we look at the keywords, certain keywords are there: sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. These are very important political science terms which we need to understand. So first thing I would elucidate for you, what is sovereignty? Sovereign, the word sovereign. Sovereign implies that India is neither a dependency nor a dominion state. It does not come under the rubric of any other power. It can make its own decisions. It is completely free in the Committee of Nations. It participates as a free nation which is capable of making its own decisions and which is not under any other country's tutelage or bondage of any kind. So meaning of sovereignty basically is that India is not dependent on any country. It is not a dominion state of any country. It doesn't come under any colonial power. It is completely free to take its decision. There is no authority above it, and it is free to conduct its own affairs, both internal and external affairs. That is the meaning of sovereignty. So it declares India to be a sovereign state. Then, being a sovereign state, India can either acquire a foreign territory or cede a part of its territory to a foreign state, because we are sovereign. A sovereign can do anything. A sovereign can acquire, can do anything means sovereign can make decisions based on the developments which happen on the international horizon, based on the international protocols and agreements. So sovereign state, when participates in Committee of Nations, based on the mutual understanding between the nations and based on the internationally acceptable norms, then in other words, so to say, that we are free to make our own decisions. We can acquire a foreign territory We can acquire a foreign territory, make decision under those conditions if it becomes applicable. We can acquire a foreign territory, or we can also cede a part of its territory to a foreign state. So that is also the meaning of sovereignty. Socialist word is a very profound word of political science, because socialism has many shades and many different types. But we will understand that what brand of socialism we apply in India, even before the term was adopted, actually added to the preamble through 42nd Amendment Act, the Constitution had a socialist content in the form of certain directive principles of state policy. There are certain directive principles of state policy. For example, if we take Article 38, Article 38 declares India to be a welfare state, that the state will make policies which are basically intended for the welfare of the people, to secure welfare for the citizens of India, people of India. Similarly, under Article 39, prevention of concentration of wealth and ensuring equitable distribution of wealth. That means these are all terms which are associated with socialism. Socialism basically is a political philosophy which to the possible extent ensures equality among citizens of every possible kind. Now, in other words, what was hitherto implicit in the Constitution has now been made explicit after the 42nd Amendment Act, the addition of this word socialism, that we are a socialist state. It has explicitly declared India to be a socialist state, which was earlier implicit in its content. Now, Indian brand of socialism, students, Indian brand of socialism is a democratic socialism. Basically, they say here, Indian brand of socialism is democratic socialism and not communistic socialism. Communistic socialism declares a dictatorship of the proletariat, as it happened in 1917 revolution in USSR, the then USSR, and now the Russian Federation or Russia. And we are not a communist country. We don't follow Marxist philosophy. We are following democratic socialism. We don't follow communistic socialism. Communistic socialism is also known as state socialism, which involves the nationalization of all means of production and distribution and the abolition of private property. So we have not done abolition of private property, and we have not nationalized all means of production and distribution. So we don't follow that extreme brand of socialism called communism. Democratic socialism, on the other hand, holds faith in a mixed economy. In our case, we follow a pattern which is known as mixed economy, where both public and the private sectors can thrive side by side, where both public and private sectors can coexist side by side. And as the Supreme Court says, democratic socialism aims to end poverty, ignorance, disease, and inequality of opportunity. That means we want to create a society which is free of poverty, free of ignorance, free of disease, and free of any kind of inequality amongst its citizens. Now, this great and lofty ideal of socialism here in India, which we practice, is mixed economic democratic socialism. Now, in Indian socialism is a blend of, therefore, Marxism and Gandhism. Now, Gandhism believed in the principle of trusteeship, that the capitalists, they hold the trust of the people, and their capital they will use for the welfare of the people. Marxism, of course, doesn't believe in private ownership of property and land. And Marxism believes in a dictatorship of the proletariat. It believes in complete nationalization of means of production and distribution. So we are leaning heavily, our socialism brand is leaning heavily towards Gandhian philosophy of socialism, which is rather a soft kind of socialism, which is not a hard kind of socialism. Then the word secular basically, it too was added by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976. That is one important fact you need to remember for the examination. However, as the Supreme Court said in 1974, that the word secular state were not expressly mentioned in the Constitution, there can be no doubt that Constitution makers wanted to establish such a state, and accordingly Articles 25 to 28, these articles, which are a part of fundamental rights to the citizens, they guarantee the fundamental rights of freedom of religion, that one can profess, one has the freedom of conscience, one can practice and profess a religion, propagate a religion, one can manage the religious affairs, and one cannot be forced to pay taxes for the promotion of some other religion as per Article 27, and one cannot be forced to attend religious instructions at educational institutions. So these freedoms which are available, these freedoms are indicative of that socialism in Indian society, that democratic socialism in our society. Then Indian Constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism. We don't adopt a negative concept of secularism, that we are completely aloof from all religions, and we don't believe in any religion. We are not atheistic state. We are not atheistic in the sense that we are a neutral state, in the sense that we respect all religions equally, in other words. So all religions in our country, irrespective of their strength, have the same status and support from the state. So our state recognizes and so to say, all religions, put all religions on an equal footing. It doesn't discriminate amongst different faiths. It treats all faiths as equal. That brand of secularism, positive concept of secularism, we practice in India. Then the meaning of democracy, that is democratic nature of our polity. So democratic polity, as we have, as stipulated in the preamble, is based on the doctrine of popular sovereignty, that is possession of supreme power by the people. So our democracy is based on basically doctrine of popular sovereignty, that people are supreme and people are governed by the government of their own choice, and they are governed and they are led by their own leaders who are chosen by, their own legislators, who are basically their own representatives. So democracy is basically of two types, as we understand in political science: direct democracy and indirect democracy. In direct democracy, people exercise their supreme power directly, as in the case of Switzerland. Directly they exercise their supreme power. And there are several devices. Some of the devices, like 4 major devices, which people use in direct democracy, is a referendum, where some issue is referred to the people and they vote and finally decide on the issue. Then initiative can be taken by the side of the people for some legislation. And if the representatives are not working well, then there is a provision for recall. Plebiscite is also seeking opinion of the people on a certain piece of legislation, which subsequently can be passed by the legislature. So these kind of direct devices means the direct participation of people in making the policies, and there's a much greater and direct participation of people, unlike our kind of system, where is indirect participation of people, in the sense that we only elect the representatives, and representatives in turn, they make up our parliament, and out of these representatives, some representatives, those who command majority, the majority rule is there, they form the government. Now, in indirect democracy, on the other hand, as we understood, the representatives elected by the people exercise the supreme power and thus carry on the government, as we understood just now, and make the laws. Now, this type of democracy is also known as representative democracy. It is a representative democracy. It is also of two types: parliamentary form of democracy and presidential form of democracy. Now, presidential form of democracy, as prevails in the United States of America, USA, parliamentary form of democracy, which prevails in UK, and of course in India and a lot of other countries. So to say that, democracy is also of two types, parliamentary as well as presidential. Now, the Indian Constitution provides for a representative parliamentary form of democracy. Our brand of democracy is parliamentary form of democracy. Our executive is responsible to the parliament or legislature. So it means that under which the executive is responsible to the legislature for all its policies and actions. Whatever it does, it is answerable to the legislature. That means that ministry is subject to the parliamentary confidence. As long as it enjoys confidence of the parliament, ministry will be there in power. If it doesn't enjoy the confidence of parliament, and it would be out of power. It will have to go. So universal adult franchise is another aspect of our democratic values. And periodic elections which are there, we have quinquennial elections every 5 years, the rule of law, independence of judiciary, and absence of discrimination on certain democratic characters of the, these are the basic characters of our Indian polity. No discrimination, independence of judiciary, a rule of law, majority rule, periodic elections, and universal adult franchise means everybody above the age of 18 years is entitled to cast his vote in general elections. Now, the term democratic is used in the preamble in the broader sense, embracing not only political democracy but also socio-economic democracy. Now, socio-economic democracy, political democracy, students on the one hand, political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of a social democracy. It is very necessary that if society is not socially democratic, how can it be politically democratic? Because the values are basically the same. In society, if there is perceived inequality, discrimination, and too many injustices, then how can there be a sense of fraternity, and how can there be a sense of equality? So social democracy is a prerequisite for political democracy. And Bhimrao Ambedkar, who drafted the constitution and who was heading the drafting committee of the constitution, Dr. Ambedkar was strongly of the opinion that social democracy is the very basis of political democracy. Political democracy is not possible without social democracy. What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity. Basically, liberty should be there, equality should be there, fraternity should be there. If these values are very much there in our social day-to-day working, then definitely it is social democracy. Without equality, liberty would produce the supremacy of the few over the many. If there is no equality, it will, without equality, if equality is not there and only liberty is there, then people will make wrong use of that, people will abuse that, and there will be supremacy of the few over many. And equality without, if the equality is there but there is no liberty, it would kill the individual initiative. So both the things must be there in order to ensure social democracy. Now, in the same context, the Supreme Court has also observed that Constitution envisions and establishes an egalitarian social order. Egalitarian social order, students, means social order based on equality, liberty, and fraternity. To every citizen, social, economic, and political justice in a social economic democracy of the Republic called Bharat. So now, when I say that, though, let us also understand the meaning of the word republic. Republic in political science, democratic polity can be classified in two categories broadly. Either it could be monarchy where there is a hereditary ruler, or republic where the head of the state is not a hereditary ruler but elected, as in our case, indirectly elected. Now, in a monarchy, the head of the state, usually a king or queen, enjoys a hereditary position. That is, he comes into office through succession. Example is Britain. A lot of countries are there in the world. Nearly 44 monarchies exist in the world. Belgium, Spain, Australia, Japan. These are all monarchies basically. But they are having modern parliamentary democracy. So they are constitutional parliamentary monarchies. Some of them are merely constitutional monarchies. But in a republic, on the other hand, the head of the state is always elected directly. Head of the state is directly or indirectly, either directly or indirectly. Head of the state is always elected, either directly elected or indirectly elected for a fixed period. For example, USA, a fixed period, president is elected for a fixed term of 4 years, right? Then, therefore, the term republic Now, republic in our preamble indicates that India has an elected head called the president, and he is elected indirectly for a fixed period of 5 years. In our case, our president, as we all know, is elected for 5 years. Now, republic also means two more things. Number one, a republic means the vesting of political sovereignty in the people and not in a single individual like a king or queen. And second thing is the absence of any privileged class, जिसके पास कोई विशेषाधिकार होते हैं, ऐसी कोई क्लास उसमें नहीं होती है. Absence of any privileged class, and hence all public offices being open to every citizen without any discrimination. जैसे फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन जब हुआ तो उसके पहले वो क्लासेस में डिवीजन था सोसाइटी का, नोबिलिटी, क्लर्जीमैन एंड कॉमनर्स. तो क्लासेस, ऐसी कोई क्लासेस रिपब्लिकन सोसाइटी में नहीं होती. ऑफिसेस, पब्लिक ऑफिसेस आर ओपन टू ऑल सिटीजन्स without any discrimination. Now, the next important political term in our preamble is justice. The term justice in the preamble embraces three distinct forms: social justice, economic justice, and political justice, secured through various provisions like fundamental rights and directive principles. Social justice denotes equal treatment for all citizens, as we understand that, without any discrimination or bias. It means absence of privileges also, which we just now understood, being extended to any particular section. No privileges extended to any particular section of the society, and improvement in the conditions of those who are backward, relatively backward, like the backward classes in India. And for women, affirmative action, government takes affirmative action so that the society overall can be brought on the footing of justice, and there can be better justice in the society, lesser discrimination in the society, and people can enjoy democratic rights equally. Now, economic justice, on the other hand, it denotes non-discrimination between people on the basis of economic factors. Now, it involves the elimination of glaring inequalities in wealth, income, and property. I mean, if there is glaring inequality in wealth, income, and property, then it will deny economic justice. Economic justice, it is very necessary that the gap between the rich and the poor is not much. It should be narrow, not wide. A combination of social justice and economic justice denotes what is known as distributive justice, which is simply a combination of economic and social justice is called distributive justice. Now, political justice implies, basically, what is political justice implies that all citizens should have equal political rights. They should have equal political rights. Equal political rights, like the voting right, we have equal access to all political offices, right? And equal voice in the government. So that would be rather an ideal kind of political justice where everybody has got equal political right, equal access to all political offices. Anybody can contest elections for that matter. Everybody who is above 18 years of age can vote, exercise his franchise, irrespective of his religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. And equal voice in government, anybody can raise his voice through his representative, right? The ideal of justice, socio-economic, political, it has been taken from the Russian Revolution of 1917, which is called the Bolshevik Revolution. Justice is a directive to the state, is enshrined in Article 38. Now, here it is important. Article 38 specifically mentions about justice. What does it say? Article 38 of Indian Constitution. This is, I'm talking of Article 38. 38 clause 1. It says the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic, and political shall inform all institutions of national life. So here it is specifically talking about, so to say, justice, social, economic, and political justice. And it is declaring rather that in the policy formulation, government will always keep in mind and always promote the welfare of the people. So India is a welfare state, and that is declared by Article 38, Clause 1. Clause 2 further says, which subsequently was added by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, 1978, states shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, and opportunities, not only amongst individuals, but also amongst the groups of people residing in different areas and engaged in different vocations, different trades. Now, the term liberty basically means absence of restraints on the activities of individuals, and at the same time providing possibilities for growth, providing possibilities for growth. Here it should be providing possibilities for growth. Possibilities for growth to individuals. So basically, that is what liberty means. Liberty not merely means that there is an absence of restraint on activities, but at the same time it should provide for growth of individuals. So preamble secures to all citizens of India liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship through their fundamental rights enforceable in the court of law in case of violation, because fundamental rights are all justiciable. They can be enforced for their violation by the courts. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, they have been basically derived from the French Revolution of 1789, 1799. That was the duration of the French Revolution. Now, the concept of equality, the term equality means basically the absence of special privileges to any section of society and the provision for adequate opportunities for all individuals without discrimination. Then preamble secures to all citizens of India equality of status and of opportunity. This provision embraces three dimensions of equality: civic equality, political equality, economic equality. Now, civic equality is ensured by the following provisions in the Constitution. Article 14, equality before law and equal protection of the law. Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, and place of birth. Article 15, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Article 16, abolition of untouchability. Article 17, and abolition of any titles. Article 18. They rather subsume within themselves the civic rights of the people. Now, there are two provisions, right? Now, civic rights of the people, as I said, civic rights mean no discrimination on the basis of caste, race, religion, and equality would be there. No untouchability, it's a crime, it's an offense. And titles, no one can have titles other than those which are conferred by the state, whatever titles the state confers under the given law. Except them, nobody can have their own titles. And of course, educational titles one can have, which are recognized by the Constitution, which are as per the democratic norms and values. So there are two provisions in the Constitution that seek to achieve political equality. Now, this is important that Article 325 and Article 326, they actually announce political equality of two sorts. Number one, no person is to be declared ineligible for inclusion in electoral rolls on ground of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, etc. Right? Under Article 325, and two, elections to the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies to be held on the basis of adult suffrage. So all adults above the age of 18, they are entitled to vote. That comes from Article 326. Through 325 and 326, these two articles in that sense declare the political equality in the Constitution. Then the directive principles of state policy, Article 39, secure to men and women equal right for an equal adequate means of life. Article 39, the very first clause of that, it declares for both men and women equal right to an adequate means of livelihood and equal pay for equal work. Then the concept of fraternity, basically I already told you, is a sense of brotherhood. The Constitution promotes this feeling of fraternity by the system of single citizenship. Also, the fundamental duties say that it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to promote harmony and a spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India by transcending any kind of bigotry like religious, linguistic, regional, sectional, any kind of diversity. Transcending all that, one is supposed to practice common brotherhood amongst all citizens of India. The preamble declares that fraternity has to assure two things: the dignity of the individual, we already understood, and the unity and integrity of the nation. The word integrity has been added in the preamble by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. We already understood that. Preamble is a part of Constitution or not. Initially, in the Berubari Union case in 1960, Supreme Court said that preamble is not a part of Constitution. But subsequently, in Keshwanand Bharti case in 1973, Supreme Court rejected their earlier opinion and said that preamble is a part of the Constitution. Two things should be noted. The preamble is neither a source of power to the legislature nor prohibition upon the power of the legislature. It is non-justiciable, that is, its provisions are not enforceable in a court of law. These are two very important things to understand in the context of preamble, that it is not a source of power for the legislature. Preamble, now, initially, since preamble was not considered to be a part of the Constitution, our now preamble is considered to be a part of the Constitution after the Keshwanand Bharti case in 1973. And preamble can be amended subject to the condition that no amendment can be carried out under Article 368 can be done to the basic features of the Constitution. That means that preamble can be amended, but the spirit of basic features of the Constitution, the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution, which was propounded by the Supreme Court in 1973, that cannot be violated. So the present position regarding amendability of the preamble is that yes, it can be amended, but it cannot be amended to the extent that it goes on to altering the basic structure of the Constitution. Now, the preamble has been amended, only for once in 1976, that is 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which has added three new words: socialist, secular, and integrity to the preamble. Now, students, I will talk about briefly the courses which in Unacademy we are shortly going to launch. During this period, 22nd to 28th of July, first of all, you are entitled for a lot of benefits if you subscribe to our courses. A lot of benefits will be extended, means you will have a number of discounts available to you if you subscribe to our courses during this period, because from 1st of August, the fee is going to be hiked. A total worth of the courses, now here I have taken these 5 courses, total worth is 2.3 lakh, but it will be available to you only for 57.5k, 57.5 thousand as of now. This price hike would be applicable from 1st of August. So it's the ideal time, great time for you to subscribe to our Unacademy courses. Then one subscription to crack it all, that is with 25% discount for plus GS plus optional course, 25% with optional and 10% with the referral code. Like my referral code is VI10. If you use this VI10 referral code, you will get 10% discount. Plus additional 10% off is there for GS plus optional. And free optional test series and prelims and mains test series is available to you. Now, this is with 1 year subscription, which is valid till mains 2022, and 2 year subscription valid till mains 2023. Then most comprehensive test series for optional preparation. In fact, 21 tests for each optional worth rupees 15,000, that would be available to you for totally free if you go for 1 year plus subscription, either 1 year or more than 1 year subscription. This offer will end on 28th of July shortly. Then our Unacademy Civil Service Exam Assure. This is a very great incentive to students that if you don't make it to civil service for 2 years, then we will take it on ourselves for the 3rd year. This is a great assurance. So you can go for 2 year subscription if you want to avail of CSE Assure. Then 80 tests every year, 50 preliminary tests and 30 mains tests. They would be available to you completely for free with every 1 year plus subscription, 1 year subscription or more. Then 20 books, both in Hindi or English, you can choose that. would be available to you for free with 1 year plus subscription. Then loan facilities available free of interest to you for the subscription. You can get in touch. It's completely interest free, completely 0% interest and no hidden charges in that. You can directly online avail of this facility. In a very short time it would be made available to you. Then this great thing, combat scholarship test is there, an academic combat scholarship test every Sunday 11 a.m. It's a 60-minute questionnaire where 60 questions would be asked, and you can win scholarships worth up to 4 crore. Means put together worth is 4 crore. It's also a great incentive to students. You can participate in this every Sunday for 1 hour. This combat scholarship test is there, both in Hindi and English. Then Kitab series is there, where the top educators would be in touch with you for 2 hours. They will discuss with you all the different aspects of particular book you are interested in. Or from their side also they can refer and discuss that book. Now this is a new initiative taken by Unacademy and already started, and you can avail of this initiative too. The new batches for 21, 22, 23 civil service exam are starting from 28th of July. A Phoenix revision batch is available, 1 year batch is there, 2 year batch is there, and NCRE batches are there. You can enroll for them. Plus the Iconic and Plus courses are available. Iconic courses students will also entitle you to personal guidance, test analysis, experts guidance, study material, and study planner. So it's a very premier course of our institute. In addition to Plus, where all facilities, live classes, weekly test, unlimited access, structured courses, all these are already there. But in Iconic, you get to have these 5 extra benefits. So you can chip in and enroll yourself and register for the programs forthcoming. And my name is Vishruta Vinna. I thank you very much for watching this video. And you follow me up on my Unacademy videos further. And also you can avail of my referral code VI10 to entitle yourself for 10% additional discount for the subscriptions. Thank you very much.